Tom Rhodes, a 31-year comic veteran. He's just about done it all in comedy. He's had a sitcom on NBC called Mr. Rhodes, his very own late-night talk show, Comedy Central specials, award-winning podcast, a series in the Huffington Post, and a Netflix special. This weekend, he brings his life experiences to the Funny Bone. Hey everybody, Dustin Dales here. Very excited. We've got a brand new comic in town for the Funny Bone this weekend. You may know him, NBC alumni himself, Mr. Tom Rhodes. How's it going, man?
Hey, Dustin. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Hello, NBC.
So, you're coming in from LA. How was your trip out here?
It was great. I got bumped up to first class because I have so many frequent flyer miles. Yeah, it was lovely. Thanks for asking.
No problem. No problem. So is that you? How often do you say you're on first class? A lot?
A lot, actually. I learned to stick with one airline a few years ago because some of the airlines treat you like an animal, and I got tired of it. You know, you're spending good money, and I have stuck with Delta. And now I'm platinum level, and I get bumped up pretty frequently. I'm a few thousand miles away from Diamond, and once I hit that, I think I could have a helicopter on the roof within the hour if I needed it.
Quite the travel.
It's pretty great. Stick with one airline.
Now, you mentioned traveling a lot. Now, I understand you also have a travel thing as well. Was that with the paper?
I have done travel writing for the Huffington Post. I was a presenter on a travel program in the Netherlands, Holland, called You're in Travel for a year, and I've been trying to pitch a comedy travel show. I've been playing the worldwide circuits for the last 15, 20 years, and the way Anthony Bourdain goes around the world checking out food, I wanted to do that. Check out comedy scenes and highlight comedians from different countries. But it's been problematic getting the idea made. So I've been making videos myself all over the world. So
something like that, are you picturing going to visit like a comic that would fit in good with that culture, or how would you see that?
No. Like comedians from that place. Like I just got back from Malaysia.
Okay.
I filmed a half-hour pilot on Malaysia a few years ago. It's an interesting comedy scene there. It's a Muslim country. And you got Malay Muslims, Indian Hindu people, and Chinese Christian or Buddhist. That's their ethnic populace, and that's what their comedy scene is made up of. And they ruthlessly make fun of each other's religions and ethnicities. They're actually more less uptight than we are in the United States. So it's, and you know, you think Muslim country, people are uptight. They're actually very liberal and open-minded there. And I know comedians all over the world, and there's a lot of comedy's booming all over the world because the world is in trouble. People are out of work, and they're depressed, and there's war and famine, and people need a laugh. So. Now,
do you see, when you do a comedy bit here in America, do you have to change your routine when you go to certain countries?
Yeah, that's the exciting part, having to, for me, there's nothing more exciting than standing in a different country and rocking. But you do have to modify it a little bit wherever you go. Certain things, my wife is Indian, and she's Hindu. If I do a joke about Hindu in the United States, people don't really, it doesn't get a good laugh because a lot of people aren't familiar with Hindu culture. But if I do that in Europe or Asia, it'll get a big laugh because these people know Indian people. So it's you know, there's different examples of that. You know, some jokes kill in America, they don't kill in England, you know, and vice versa.
Is that something you just learned along the way, or is that something?
Yeah, that's the exciting part, is figuring it out while you're on stage, what works and what doesn't.
Now, does that also work the same way in America? Say you're in the East Coast, certain jokes you tell there, certain jokes you don't tell.
Absolutely. Some jokes work in California that don't work in the Midwest, and New York versus Florida, yeah, definitely.
Now, one thing we have coming up next week here at the Funny Bone is Clash of the Comics. So basically, it's a lot of local people, exactly, clashing, trying to get their 5 minutes to open up for an act like such as yourself. What would you tell them? What's some advice you'd give them for next week?
I mean, you know, if you're doing a contest, you've probably already worked out a few open mic nights. I mean, it's the same for everybody. The great thing about comedy is everybody starts the same. There's no shortcut. Young comedians always ask, what secrets can you teach me? There's no secret. You get on as many stages as you can, and if the people don't laugh, stop saying that line. And the ones that they do laugh, keep and then you work on your structure, and it's just, you got to keep getting on over and over. And it's a very tough business. A lot of people can't stand the early indignations and humiliations that you have to go through to become a seasoned comedian, and that's why a lot of people don't survive. So if you're in a small contest doing 5 minutes and your feelings get bruised, you're probably not going to make it in the long haul. Because especially now, you know, Twitter and YouTube comments, I mean, you got to have really thick skin to be a comedian. Well, I mean, you have to have thick skin to be in today's world. Yeah, but true. To be a comedian, definitely, everyone is a 5-cent critic, if you will.
Now, you've been doing comedy for a long time, 30 years, if not more, correct?
31, yeah.
31 years. Congratulations. Yeah. That's awesome.
I started when I was 17. I'm 48.
Look at that. 17 years old. Now look at him.
Hands soft as a baby's bottom. Never worked a hard day in my life.
I do envy you for that.
Yeah.
I got to admit. But so 17 when you started, is your material... is your delivery about the same way it is now? I mean, what kind of things changed?
No, things definitely evolved. I mean, when I started when I was 17, I had no life experience. So, I mean, that's the best thing for a comedian, is to live a little. And, you know, like if you're living in a city and you're having, you know, a relationship and life experiences, that's better for comedy than going out on the road early like I did. I only had the thoughts of a 17-year-old. So all my jokes were about trying to get laid on dates, driving my dad's Chrysler LeBaron, you know. So, you know, I've traveled all over the world. I lived in Amsterdam for 5 years. I had a late-night talk show. You know, I've had a full life of heartbreak and experiences to draw from now.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned that talk show. That's one thing I wanted to ask you about. How did that talk show come about in Amsterdam?
It was miraculous. I mean, if you saw it in a movie, you would think, no, that could never happen. I had a sitcom on NBC, and it was called Mr. Rhodes. I had really long hair. Thank you, Shelley McCrory, the executive who signed me. I played a school teacher. They gave the kids all the jokes. It was pretty, you know, it was unfortunate that it only lasted for a year. I think, I mean, I love NBC. NBC is one of the reasons I'm a comedian. Saturday Night Live, Johnny Carson, David Letterman, Taxi, The Cosby Show. In my opinion, NBC, excuse me, is American comedy. So when that ended, I had a lot of money, and I looked at that as my NBC artist grant. So I started taking trips to London, and I got in with London, and once I got in with London, that led to gigs all over Europe, all over Asia, Australia, New Zealand, the rest of the world. So I was performing in Amsterdam, and I fell in love with a Dutch girl. Oh. And I moved to Amsterdam for this girl, and we were together for 2 years, and then she dumped me. And I was just about to move back to the United States when these people from this Dutch television network were looking for an American to host a late-night talk show, like David Letterman and Johnny Carson. And I got the job. And I got to stay in this little country that I had fallen in love with. And then, you know, I could not have scripted that better. To be the guy coming out behind the big curtain in a $3,000 suit, get to stand on the X, give a little 5-minute monologue, and then I sit down at the desk, banter with my musical sidekick, and then bring out, you know, do a skit, and then it was exactly like an American late-night talk show. So I got to do that for 2 years, and then the same network let me be a presenter on a travel show for a year. So, I mean, it's really unbelievable.
And your guests, were they Dutch?
Mostly Dutch celebrities. And everyone was explained. It was like a little dollhouse version of American celebrity culture. It'd be like, okay, this is the Howard Stern of Holland. And this is the Pamela Anderson of Holland, you know? So, but we had a few American, we had Steve-O from Jackass on, Tenacious D, I gave them a tour of Amsterdam, they were on. Those clips are, well, Tenacious D is on YouTube. The Steve-O clip, there's no censorship on Dutch television. He exposed himself. And I had the clip on YouTube, but YouTube took it down.
Oh. YouTube's always being a little stingy these days.
Those are the rules.
Now, for folks that didn't know your NBC show, it ran up until 97, right? 96
to 97. I also have a few clips. I have a few episodes on YouTube. The pilot is on there, and like 3 episodes. The cast was incredible. Had Ron Glass from Barney Miller.
Okay.
Stephen Tobolowsky, one of the greatest American. He was Ned Ryerson in Groundhog's Day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's also got a recurring part on Californication. Been in a lot of movies. Jensen Ackles, who's on the show Heroes, was on there. Lindsay Sloan, who's gone on to have a nice movie career. Sean Weiss, who was in the Mighty Duck movies. Brilliant cast.
What was the plot of that sitcom?
I was it was like Dead Poet Society. I was the rebel school teacher, English teacher, inspiring revolution in the stuffy prep school kids, you know. It's in retrospect, I never should have gone with a teacher show. I had the idea, I wanted to be a public defender lawyer, to be the voice of the voiceless.
Okay.
And a little more gritty, and for some reason, it's interesting because Universal produced it.
Right.
Now NBC Universal is one company. At the time, they were a different company. Right. And I would put the blame on Universal more than NBC. I still adore the Peacock network. So.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up watching NBC comedy shows. So.
Now, if you could go back, would you rather have another sitcom or your talk show again?
If I could go back, I would stick with the public defender lawyer show.
Stick with option C.
Idea, yeah. You know, I got to do a late night talk show. I was a presenter on a travel show. I do not think my television career is over. Mm-hmm. So, and I for the last 10 years, I've had everything in storage, and I've been traveling the world. Last year I did 5 months in Europe, a month in Asia. The year before I did a month in Australia, a month in New Zealand doing comedy festivals. So I just moved back to Los Angeles a month ago. So I mean, I feel like a fresh face. Even though I'm getting older, I feel like a young comedian who nobody knows. So, and I think anything could happen. After the life I had in Amsterdam, you know, I think, I mean, you never know what could happen in life. And that's the great thing about, you know, America and show business in general.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine traveling to Amsterdam for a few years, then all of a sudden getting that call. I mean, that's pretty cool. Man. Yeah. I'm very happy for you. That's cool. So, folks that are looking to check out more of your stuff, maybe that don't get a chance to come out to the Funny Bone this week.
TomRhodes.net is my website. I also have a podcast that's kind of like the travel show that I've wanted to do. It's people, I've interviewed comedians mostly all around the world. I did Steve Wozniak earlier this year. And then also my YouTube channel. Just type in Tom Rhodes YouTube. I just did Bas Rutten, Dutch MMA fighter, UFC Hall of Fame guy, who's also, he's very funny. He's starred in a lot of movies as well as a villain. And, you know, it's fun. With technology today, you can do whatever you want. So, I mean, I basically, I'm making the TV show and the kind of comedy clips that I want to make. And I, you know, don't have to wait on anyone to fund it. So 30
years in, you're not slowing down at all.
No, and I think it's never been a better time to be a comedian. With all the available technology to make podcasts, film your own videos. You know, I think it's really exciting.
Very cool. Well, make sure you check him out this weekend. He's here tonight, Thursday, and then of course he'll be here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well.
Omaha. The last time I was here was 25 years ago.
25 years
and
ago?
I was a middle act, and I had driven here from Florida for like $300 or something. Man. But like, but I was like, I was in show business, you know? I'll never forget crossing the river, coming into Omaha. I was like, wow, man, I am in show business. So I haven't been here in all those years, and it's exotic to see Omaha after.
What do you remember about Omaha from back in the day?
I met cool people here. I met artist people that took me to like some artist loft. I went to some really cool parties, and I really enjoyed it.
You know, Omaha's one of the biggest music booming cities in town.
Oh, is it really?
In the country, yeah.
You know, and I took a trip up to Norfolk to see Johnny Carson's hometown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how much of a freak I am.
I haven't been there. It's on my bucket list to check it out.
Been.
I know. I'm disappointed myself.
Yeah, it's like an American Legion bar thing, or barn bar where he started doing magic tricks as a teenager.
You know, he went down as one of the greatest of all time.
I miss him like a dead relative.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought that DVD set.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Very
yeah.
cool.
That's how much I love Johnny Carson.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
make sure you check
Thank
him
you,
out.
Nebraska.
He appreciates it. Make sure you come out and see him all weekend long, and then I'm sure 25 years from now he'll be back in here.
That's right. See me now.
See him now. You only got you have to wait 25 years if you don't. Check him out online as well. Check out his podcast, and he's also got a special on Netflix. The name of that is
Light Sweet Crude.
Light Sweet Crude. Very
Yeah.
easy to remember. Check it out, and see him this weekend.